Hello and welcome back to the Rope Access and Climbing Podcast, YouTube edition. I am your host, Mikey Stevenson, and today I'm going to be talking to you about two of the most common mistied knots in rope access. If this is your first time here, please make sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. So stay tuned. Step into your harness and get ready for a podcast about the vertical world. All right, well, let's dive into today's episode. So today we are talking about two of the most commonly mistied knots in rope access. Now, I am speaking from an instructor's point of view, as well. Keep in mind that I have been involved with a couple company-wide investigations into the set knots as well. So I do come from a little bit of experience, both from an operation standpoint as well as a training standpoint. All right, so now the first knot we're going to talk about here is the scaffold knot, commonly known as a barrel knot, commonly used for hauling, lowering, and for cow's tails. So here we have just your standard scaffold knot. All technicians should be able to tie this and been, assessed or evaluated on set knot. Now, here is another scaffold knot. So with this knot, okay, it would take, there we go. It would take a lot of work to tell if either of these knots are tied correctly or incorrectly. Okay, so just keep that in mind when we're looking at this. So now, to know the difference on if it's tied correctly or not, you actually have to function check these knots. Okay, just to look at it, I would beg to say that you probably cannot tell the difference. All right, so I'm gonna just clip one onto this carabiner, one onto this carabiner, and we're gonna function check these knots. So how do I do that? If I pull down here, this knot needs to move. Okay, it needs to slide up the load strand. For the knot that's incorrectly tied, as you can see, the tail comes out of this knot. Now, based on I'm not pulling very hard, it would just peel out, obviously. So both on the operations side, I've had to be involved in the conversation where there's been buddy checks done. Someone inspected the cow's tails and found that these cow's tails were tied like this. Obviously, this is one of the the most common knot to be used at the end of a cow's tail. So making sure that you load your knots properly and you have had someone also inspect them before you actually go to work. All right, so the next knot that we're going to be talking about here, and probably the most common knot improperly tied, is the Alpine Butterfly. So if we look at these two knots here, okay, it would be pretty challenging for even a trained eye to tell if both of these knots are tied properly. Okay, so yet again, just like the scaffold knot, you have to function check this knot. You got to load it and make sure it's tied properly. So when I'm doing so, I'm just going to pull down here. This knot is going to stay in line. All right, and if I pull on this one, okay, there's a lot of movement going on there. Okay, and if you look really close here, you can start to see that this knot is actually peeling back here. So that is not good. Okay, now if this were to fully deploy, or if this knot was to actually fully come apart, there would be a lot of rope. Okay, so that is approximately 1.5 feet. Okay, say 450 mils for the people that are in other parts of the world. But this is, as you can see, those are pretty small loops, so there's not a lot of rope in that system, okay? All right, so when we're inspecting these knots here, okay, I have 2 straight strands here, 2 straight strands here. Here I have 2 straight, and I have kind of like an X pattern going on here, okay? So with this, what I want to do is I want to take this top strand and see if I can pull this off. And in this case, as you can see, it just wants to fall off. In this case, if I take this top strand, I physically cannot undo it on either side. So I take the top or the bottom strand, this knot will not peel apart. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so today I'm not talking about how to tie the knot in correctly. I am talking about how to inspect the knot to make sure that it's tied correctly. And also just keep in mind that these are the 2 most commonly mistied knots. All right, so when you're out there, you're going into your course, or if you're heading out and going to do a job and you're doing buddy checks, make sure that you are inspecting those knots. Anytime you have someone tying knots, inspect those knots. Take that time and do what you need to do to ensure that you and your crew are safe. I have seen, you know, many people with years of experience come into training and, you know, swear up and down that, you know, this knot is correct. So it is out there. What we can do is rise above that and spread the word to be inspecting all our knots before any use. All right, well, thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments below if this is something that you've ever encountered before. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications as I put out new content every Sunday, and I'll see you on the next one.